I've done a couple videos before on, like, whenever I try and pitch a new series and ones that I plan on doing reviews for. And I think the way that I'm just going to do it now, because I've done it a couple before, but I end up using more panels than I realized than I would have preferred, because I feel like I end up putting spoilers and stuff. I mean, generally, I try and do it without context, but at the same time, I'm just going to try and aim for maybe like a panel like this one. I made sure to not have any of the dialogue in it, so it's mostly just a cool panel for those who haven't read this series. But if you haven't read it, this is Mission Yozakura Family, and I've been enjoying it since I got back on the series. I read the chapter when it first came out, was it like almost 2 years ago now? But I remember when I read the first chapter, I was like, oh, cool, it's a new series. I didn't have a lot of stake in it. Like, it didn't have a lot of my interest at the time. And I figured what I would do in my video instead was go over more of kind of what exactly my take was it at the time and what changed since then. So, essentially, when the series came out, it had more of the kind of almost gag series vibe very early. And it's funny because the series gets compared to like whenever you have a series and there's like something in the genre and people like can say like, oh, whatever fandom might like it. It was, for this one, it was similar to Hitman Reborn. And with this, Hitman Reborn actually had a similar vibe for me at the very start. When Hitman Reborn was in the first chunks of the series, when I had gotten, when I tried to get into it, the first 30 to 40 chapters or something, I don't remember exactly the number. It feels like a gag series. It's only when you get to I can't remember the first bad guy that they really fight, the illusion dude, off the top of my head. He joins the group later on. Small spoiler, who cares? And then Zanzas. When I got to areas like that, it felt more like a serious story, because when it comes to gag series, I can enjoy a good joke, but there's nothing for me to really invest in because of the fact that nothing's really serious. It's all for chuckles. And Mission Yozakura Family had this similar vibe for the first chunk of the series that Hitman Reborn had, at least for me. So when it first came out, I was like, I don't really know if I'm going to follow this. And then, there's always the worry with early series or whether or not they're going to get cancer or not. Mission Yozakura Family obviously lived. But when I got back into it, there were two things, like I said, that were my main concerns of whether or not I was going to end up liking it. One was whether or not it was going to end up having more of a serious plot, which, yes, it does. It's not a gag series like I was worried it could have been. And on top of that, one of the characters I was not a fan of at all when I first started the series. It was the older brother. I'm always forgetting exactly how to pronounce his name. Kyoichiro, the eldest brother of the Yozakura family. I did not like him when I first read the series. He's got this is a tiny spoiler, nothing that would really damage the series for you, but enough that it would. I would hope if somebody else has the same problem as I had early on, if maybe they can look at it and say oh, this isn't a problem, then I can get past it. Or if they start it and they run into the same problem that I had, then they could end up knowing that it improves from there. And he was way too aggressive of a character in a really odd way. It's kind of like when you have one of those characters whose comedic thing is being violent. And, you can get a funny one where they have the fan and they'll hit somebody in the head or something. Or, the tsundere who gets a little aggressive in embarrassing moments. But, this dude was always putting the main character in, a spot where he almost died. And I get the joke, but every single time I looked at it, because, after the point where I was like, okay, it's not a gag series, you have to take stuff seriously, parts of the plot are going to be serious. I was like, what would happen if this guy succeeded and killed the main guy? Because, the main character, Tayo, he is the love interest of this dude's younger sister. And I every single time I'm like how much emotional damage would he have done to his own sister if he ended up killing this dude? But it does get a lot better. He does get a lot more. He gets a lot more realistic in the way he acts and just the general way that he's presented in the series. And that was one of my big things, like I said, about the series early on that I was very happy ended up changing. So, a little bit of about the series. Like, it's like this weird, like, spy family, and they have, like, I don't want to go too much into it, because I don't, like I said, I don't want to get spoilers, but, like, it's just, it's a spy family. The main character has to, become, like, actually pretty competent, and, train himself in order to, pretty much to even be part of the family, because, like, even their house is, like, riddled with crazy booby traps and stuff, and also he wants to be able to, protect his love interest. So when it comes down to it, it has like a really logical way of why like it becomes like more actiony. The main character has to become strong. Actually, the premise has like a similar vibe to Hitman Reborn. It's different though with spies versus mafia, but the premise of how the main character goes about like being involved in the story reminds me a lot of not Hitman Reborn, of History's Strongest Disciple, Kenichi, in the way that he was kind of introduced into everything, and why exactly he was kind of getting roped into events, and obviously like gaining crazy superhuman abilities and skills and stats and techniques and whatnot. So it's like, I think like chapter 81 now, 82 or something along those lines. It's one of the ones I would definitely recommend for people like looking for some of the newer Shonen Jump series, because it is genuinely good. It's got really good art. The main character, it has a really good balance of being both funny but also pretty cool. It has that similar vibe of like when you have a goofy main character at times, and then you can see like even in this panel like just being a badass. Like he's not even trying to be like cool fighting flex mode this time. It's just him being serious and and taking charge of a situation. Regardless if he's actually in charge of it or not, he's gonna put up the vibes for it, because of the fact that he knows the situation he's in, and he knows what he has to, well, like the kind of guy he has to be and the kind of person that he is in that moment. And I think it's been pretty good. It's hard to talk about some of the stuff without going too much into spoilers, but I think when you really see the progression of the earlier series versus when you get caught up, it's a really good chunk of just seeing the difference of what exactly I mean. Like the first 20 or so chapters just feels like you're reading a slice life gag series, and the series I mentioned that is very similar to it, especially early on, Hitman Reborn. If you've read or watched Hitman Reborn, it was very similar at the start. The first chunk, it was just like situations of the week. It was like Suna would get into a situation, and he would end up using, the ultimate. Oh God, I'm trying to remember what it was. Dying Wolf Flame. No, the ultimate Dying Wolf Flame is a different one, but the Dying Wolf Flame, he ended up having to pretty much utilize that in a situation that was more silly most of the time. But that was like it took a gag similar setup, but it ended up like building that into what was the overall plot, and that's similar to what happened in what does happen in Mission Yozakura Family. So I would absolutely recommend it if you're looking for a new series to jump on board to, especially like with the crisp art. The main cast is all pretty good. I like all the members of the main cast. The only one that really bothered me was the oldest brother, but like I said, he gets a lot better over time. And it's just like when he tones down being like a complete psychopath, because like the stuff with him having like borderline complex obsession with his sister is already like a little odd. Like his didn't get too creepy. It was more of just like overly present. Like he was close to that edge, but it was just the way that he treated the main character a lot of the time, and how he constantly would put him into spots or be like, what if he actually died? Like would his family even forgive him? Like like that would be something that could like emotionally destroy, like emotionally and mentally destroy his sister, and just like put her in like a deep state of depression. Like like that whole part of the story just made me feel like, dude, what are you doing? Like there's something legitimately wrong with you. But it does get a lot better from there. So if anybody else runs into that kind of like questionable attitude and problem early on in the series, it'll progress and get a lot more, like it'll improve a lot more than where it was at. But I definitely would, like I said, recommend it. They're in a really interesting spot right now. One of the things that like made me, it was on like the teetering fence of whether or not I was going to start reviewing it or not. I am going to start reviewing it, and I want to do more of like a talking about it rather than what I was doing before was more of kind of like almost giving a summary of the story, but in a way that I think gave more spoilers. But I wanted to wait until that we were at a time where I felt like the series would go a longer distance, because unfortunately, like a lot of the newer series have been really short. Like Demon Slayer ended like right after season 1. It was still like it's still riding a huge wave from it, so it's weird that it ended. Jujutsu Kaisen ends in 2 years. Like Chainsaw Man isn't over, but it, part 1 ended this the same span of time, like within the same like yearly span of when its anime is coming out, which is weird because like you'd think it would kind of want to ride that huge hype train. But yeah, Mission Yozakura Family, solid stuff. I think one of the best things about it that I would try and use as like a sell is the relationship between the male lead and the female lead. They have a really genuine and well put together relationship. It's not one of those romances where it feels like, how are these characters even like interacting with each other? It feels forced or anything. It feels very genuine, and I think that's really good. Just because of obviously it has a major focus in the series. So definitely check it out after this if you're interested, especially in like cool spy powers and whatnot. It's got a super dog though. It's got like a black furred Clifford essentially, like combat dog. It's super cool. But yeah, like outside of that, comment below. Tell me if you read the series, if you do read the series, if you're thinking about reading it and whatnot, and who like your favorite characters are within. I like Shion a lot. She's probably one of my favorites. I like that she's just kind of like, she's their person in the chair. She's mostly in the desk, just doing a lot of the computer work while these guys are out freaking fighting superhumans and whatnot. But anyway. Other than that, though, comment below, thumbs up the video, befriend the like button, subscribe button, and check out my other videos. But than that, I appreciate everybody's already subscribed. Thank you all for listening. Bye.